Hey everyone, it's Ish here with Growing in OKC, and today I'm going to give you a quick tour of my backyard garden, and I'm going to take you on a little field trip, and we're going to go to my community garden. So I'm going to show you what I've got growing on.
Okay, these are my Brussels sprouts. This is the first year that I've ever grown Brussels sprouts, and they seem to be doing all right. I don't think that I'm going to grow them again because they take up so much room, blocking out light for a lot of other things, and they take a really long time to grow apparently. One of the things that they're blocking out here is like this tomato plant, and I'd really like for it to have a little more light. Here's a bunch of basil that I've companion planted with the tomatoes. I have to come out here every once a week and pull the tops off the basil so that it keeps producing leaves and continues to bush out, not get, too seedy. So here are some cucumbers that are started here. They're taking forever, but they'll trellis up. Let's trellis. This collard green plant here has gone to seed. I had some really bad cabbage worms attack the plant, and it stressed out the plant so much that it bolted. So, normally I just let cabbage worms do their thing, but if you do, I guess the plant stresses and it'll start going to seed. So these two plants, which I kind of picked a little more frequently, you can see still really bushy, and for two people, just my wife and I, looks like two collard green plants are more than enough. Growing in between the collard plants, I've planted here some bell pepper, I think parsley down there, and a tomato plant. It's an indeterminate, so it's just kind of vining and finding the light wherever it can. Here are two chard plants, and I planted these first thing in the spring, and they are massive. This red chard here is about 2 to 3 fingers wide with the stem, so massive leaves. I guess it's just an indication of how good the soil is. And then when I planted those in the spring, I also planted a bunch of lettuce. And so you can see I'm letting the lettuce go to flower, go to seed, so that I can save all the lettuce seeds. Here are some potatoes that are volunteer. I guess I missed pulling them up last year, so it's about time to harvest those. And a tomato plant. I did a lot of, or attempted to do a lot of companion planting this year in natural defenses. So here are some marigolds that are just blooming like crazy, and I've got them right next to this jalapeno plant. There it is, jalapeno on a stick. But I'm getting some pretty good jalapenos here. And more pepper plants mingled right up against the collard here. So the next bed, you all may have watched the video on my sugar snap peas. I've let them die back so I can save some of the seeds, just as a trial error. I don't really care about the seeds. I could just buy more, but just want to do it. We've got some chives here in this pot. Chives are working really well in the container garden. These are green beans. I did a little 4x2 area, and here are all the green beans that I harvested today from that 4x2 area. And that's probably the second harvest of green beans that I've had. More marigolds. They are not doing anything to keep the squash bugs or the vine borers off of my 2 squash plants here. So that's really unfortunate. Those are my squash. And then over here is the potato bed, and later on today I'm gonna get out and do a video on harvesting these potatoes that have been growing all season. Further into the back, I have my rain barrels. Got 2 rain barrels, one here and one back there, and they've been full all spring long. We've had so much rain here. This was an herb bed. You can see the dill here, it's just gone to seed, and then the cilantro has also gone to seed. There's a little bit, there's some basil and lavender in there as well that are doing really well. Oh yeah, and a volunteer strawberry plant. Back here's some more Swiss chard, and it's doing really well. It's a little leggier because it sits underneath the house awning or whatever, so the stalks aren't as big, but the leaves stay a little bit cooler, and so the plant tastes a little bit better than the one that's getting full sun. Here in this bed, oh, the wind did it. This is my asparagus bed. It's a 4x6. That gives you any determination of the size here. And I've got some basil planted in amongst the asparagus, and this is just the first year to do asparagus. This last bed and the last thing I'm gonna show you here in the backyard before we go to the community garden is gonna be my cold frame for the winter. I have not planted anything in there because, you know, it's been 90 degrees so far, so I'm just not planting things in it. I'm gonna wait for the winter. Okay, this is my community garden plot, and it's a 4x8 bed. I just want to show you real quick. We've got a couple of carrots grown right here in the corner. Here are my green beans, and as you can see, the color, they're a little bit lighter and they're not nearly as big, and the reason why I point this out is because this is just topsoil, no compost, no you know, additives to the soil or anything like that. But the tomato plants, even though they're much smaller, look at how many tomatoes this plant has put on. And I think it's because there's not as much nitrogen in the soil. The plant has really just invested a lot into fruit production. And all of the tomato plants have really done that. They've only grown about 1.5 feet, 2 feet tall, but they've just put on a ton of fruit. Got some cherry tomatoes down there that I get to pick today. And if you'll, whoop, sorry about that. You'll notice as well, I've got these bamboo poles, and they're about 6 feet tall because I thought that's what the tomatoes would grow to all throughout the year, but they're not. They're staying pretty small. But here is a trellis that I built for the cucumbers that I've planted down here at the bottom as well. Here are some beautiful Jet Star tomatoes growing nice and big. I hope you all enjoyed this episode. If you haven't already subscribed, click below and subscribe to my channel. Also, even if you're not a subscriber, or if you just want to leave a comment, I always enjoy reading your comments. This is Ish wishing you the best of luck growing in Oklahoma City or wherever you're at.